We will now start off with a quick introduction from each of the candidates, starting with Braxton, J. Todd, Kate, and then Zach.
Hello, guys and girls. It is awesome to see every single one of y'all here. That means a lot to me, and I know everyone sitting at these tables. I'm Braxton Powell. I'm running for SGA President. And first of all, I want to thank my Lord for being here. It's an awesome opportunity, and I want to glorify Him in everything I do. I'm here to be short and concise and to not put a lot of fluff on the issues. I hope it can be good and real talk over the issues that SGA has authority over. And with that, let's have fun.
Thank you, Braxton. J. Todd?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the Herald for sponsoring this debate. My name is J. Todd Ritchie. I'm a junior from Glasgow, Kentucky, and for the past year, it's been my honor to serve you all as your student body president. Since I became president, I've been fighting to make college more affordable, strengthen the inclusion of marginalized students, make our university more environmentally sustainable, make our campus safer, and expand mental health resources. We've made incredible progress in all of these issues, and if re-elected, I will continue to do so next year. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, J. Todd. Kate?
Hi, everyone. My name's Kate Hart, and I'm running to be your Executive Vice President of SGA. I'm running for this position because I feel like my team and I have a comprehensive vision to not only build on the successes of SGA this year, but to also continue to grow it as an organization and as a voice for the students. And I also feel that my experience through serving as a committee chairhead in SGA and also on multiple committees in the University Senate and through my involvement in many organizations on campus, that I have the skill set to successfully fulfill this position and to fulfill these goals.
Thank you. Zach?
Thank you. Once again, my name is Zach Jones, and I'm running for Executive Vice President. It's an honor and a privilege to sit here and debate before you. I'm very excited for the dialogue that's going to occur tonight. And just like Braxton, I echo that we want to just talk clear and concise goals tonight for what we can do for you, the students, over the next year. It's been my privilege to serve as the Campus Improvements Chair over the last year. I'm a little biased, but I believe it's the hardest working committee in SGA. We work to ensure your safety. We work to ensure that the physical improvement of this campus occurs, and amongst a variety of other issues. Finally, I just want to also thank my Lord and Savior for being here. Without my faith, I'm not sure where I would be. So once again, thank you for the Herald for allowing this to occur. This is a great dialogue for the student body.
Okay, thank you all. Monica, start us off.
All right, so to start things off, we'd like each of you to address in 30 seconds or less, what is the one issue that you feel is most pressing on WKU, and how do you plan to address it? And we'll start with Kate, and we'll just kind of go down the panel.
All right. In my opinion, the most important thing that we need to be focusing on is diversity and inclusion. SGA is predominantly made up of white middle-class students who also need to have a voice on the campus, but we need to accurately represent what the demographics of our student body is. And we've already made significant gains this semester through my campus too, and I hope to continue that next year and grow on that.
College affordability. We have a governor that is consistently proposed to cut education, falling on your all's backs. The students of this university and students in Kentucky have taken their fair share of cuts. We don't know where the budget process is right now. They should be determining it within the next few days. But regardless, the automatic solution for you all to fill any funding cut, if millions of dollars, is automatically to raise your all's tuition. I do not want the student body to bear 100% of the burden for budget cuts.
Diversity is a big issue, as well as the budget cuts that we're facing from the governor and the state legislature. And I think one of the biggest issues that Western's facing right now is we have Gary Ransdell retiring next year, and so we're going to need an SGA president to serve on the board on the Presidential Search Committee to help find a new replacement for Gary Ransdell, which I think is a big deal.
I firmly believe that all these issues are very important, but above all, SGA and the student body need to connect better so that we can actually solve these issues, so we can hear your voice. And so without a better dialogue between the students and SGA, then we cannot solve any of these issues. So I firmly believe that increasing the awareness of SGA as well as the relationships that we can hold with you, the students, is the top priority.
This next question is for J. Todd and Braxton. Braxton, we'll start with you. Why did each of you choose your executive vice presidents? Were there any particular qualities that each one held that you thought would be conducive to your overall campaign?
Well, everyone knows, we're both involved in SGA, and any organization that I get involved in, I want to see the best for it. And that goes beyond organizations. That goes towards campus, community involvement, whatever have you, whatever I'm involved in. And so when I'm a part of something, I want to see it be the best it can be. And right now, I just don't think that SGA is as best as it can be. And so thinking about upcoming elections this year, I thought, where can I best be serving? Where can I use my qualities of leadership and personality to best influence SGA and make it the best it can be? And so that's why I chose to run for president.
So I chose Kate Hart as my running mate, primarily because out of all the senators in SGA, Kate has demonstrated her capacity to be completely dedicated to what SGA's purpose is, to represent the student body and to hold the administration of WKU accountable for their actions when necessary. We took one of the first trips to Frankfurt to actually lobby against Governor Bevin's cuts to higher education. We met with Democrats and Republicans. Kate was a leader on that trip. Kate was a leader with understanding very complex scenarios with need-based lottery funding, with budget cuts. She is someone who's completely dedicated to SGA, and the student body. And I've been very impressed with her from day one, and I know she'll continue that as executive vice president.
Okay, and then kind of on the flip side, for Kate and Zach, what qualities do you feel you bring that best support your presidential candidates? And we'll start with Kate and then go to Zach.
Okay. That both support our presidential candidates. I think a big thing that I bring to the table is my involvement in other activities on campus and other organizations. I'm a very active member of OLAS, which is the Hilltopper organization of Latin American students. I'm also involved in the Chinese Culture Club, and like I said earlier, diversity is very important to me, so I would love to expand my reach to even more. And then I served on the Budget Council of the University Senate last semester, which is made up of the provost, several deans of colleges, and other faculty and staff members that focus on the budget of the university and other items. And it was my job in that committee to make sure that resources that were important to students were not cut, and that it will continue to be my job if elected to ensure that in the face of these new budget cuts, that they also won't be cut, and that more things that are important to us will continue to stay. I've also served as the Academic Affairs Committee Chair, which has allowed me to effectively lead a group and develop my leadership skills more in the SGA.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
What qualities do you feel you bring that best support your presidential candidate?
Awesome. Well, I'll say this much. The experience after 2 years in SGA has certainly prepared me for a position of this nature. Working with the Campus Improvements Committee last year, and also the Culture and Diversity Affairs Committee, which is now my campus too, has been morphed into that. I was also involved with that to a degree, not as much, but I was involved with it. And now as the chairman for the Campus Improvements Committee, I believe that experience has given me a strong understanding of the way the student government body works. I led the charge for the construction of the new parking structure that's going to occur down in Creason Lot upon the approval of the bonds for that, and I know that the administration is working very hard to see that occur, as well as I've looked into a variety of different issues with international students, fought for the protection of prayer on our campus, which was attacked last year, amongst a variety of other issues, as well as I'm involved with other organizations on campus, Chi Alpha Ministries as the director in that. I'm the son of a real estate owner, and I'm a minor in finance, so I understand how the budget works. I've seen how buildings are built. I've seen how you organize finance. I've seen how you need to allocate money to make sure that things work. And finally, my heart is to impact the individual. I'm a big fan of talking one-on-one with the people so we can find real solutions. So I'm not here just to talk in front of you guys today and then hide away. I'm here to talk to you one-on-one. I'm here to have that dialogue afterwards. I'm here to make a difference, and I believe that that's what qualifies me.
Okay, thank you. Braxton, this question is for you. You said in your open letter to the campus on your campaign page that your vision for SGA is to, quote, see it flourish into an organization that positively influenced the lives of everyday students. And can you elaborate on that vision and your plan if you were elected SGA president?
Right. Right now, when I talk to people about SGA, and believe me, there are some who don't know what SGA is. They don't know what we provide, and it's disheartening. And so, when I talk to these people, I don't feel like we're reaching out to them well enough. I don't think we're providing our services to them well enough. And so, I come to that with experience. Not everyone can be involved in everything on campus. I personally work 2 jobs right now. I'm involved in my fraternity on the executive council. I'm involved in local politics, and I'm also involved in SGA. And so when I want to see SGA reach into the lives of everyday student, I just want to see our name get out there so they know what we provide. I want to see us help them flourish. I want to see them want to be a part of Western's campus and want to be involved in the legislature of SGA and help represent the concerns of their fellow students. And so that's what I mean by I want SGA to flourish into the lives of everyday students. Because I want to see us be a bigger impact in everyone's lives and not just a select few.
Thank you.
And J. Todd, something that came kind of into the spotlight earlier this semester was when you, as you mentioned, took a trip to the Kentucky legislature. So kind of why was more involvement with the Kentucky legislature something that you saw as vital, and is it something that you hope to continue in the future?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm the vice chair on the Board of Student Body Presidents. The Board of Student Body Presidents could not come to a consensus where all universities could come together and send students to the legislature, and I wanted WKU students to take the lead on actually going to Frankfurt and sitting down with both Democrats and Republicans to say, students have taken our fair share of cuts since the Great Recession. If we can please replenish 100% of funding to need-based financial aid and reduce Governor Bevin's budget cuts to all institutions of higher learning in Kentucky, I think that's extremely important. That's absolutely something that we should focus on in the future, and I hope we can even expand that moving forward.
Now, Braxton, having more involvement with local and state government is something that you also touch on in your campaign with something you call Capitol Hilltoppers. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
So right now in SGA we have a legislative research committee. I would like to see that committee expand. And when I say expand, I want to see it open up dialogue between our SGA, Western students, with government elected officials, not only on the federal level or the state level, but just city council, magistrates, what have you. Have them come in. I have both Democrat, Republican, just bipartisan views. And this time right now would be an awesome opportunity to have those individuals come in. Since we are facing budget cuts, and since we are going through this time period where we're scared of what's going on in our state. And so it would be awesome to have our state representative for this area, Jody Richards, come in, or Mike Wilson, our state senator, and to have them talk about what's going on, because we're not only Western students, we're also citizens, and so it's awesome. It's an awesome thing to be informed on what's going on, and that would open the door. I'll just say real quick to I would hope it would open the door to trips to our state capitol or trips to our city government, federal government, and just provide more knowledge to the average student about what's going on. They don't have to be real political, just general ideas.
Thank you.
This one is also for both J. Todd and Braxton. How would you continue to expand on the initiatives that SGA has established within the past semester? And additionally, are there any new initiatives that you'd like to see passed in the future?
Start with J. Todd and
Sure.
Braxton.
Excellent, and I have a minute and 30 seconds.
Yep.
Okay, I'll try my best. The two initiatives that I'm extremely proud of are My Campus 2, which is a diversity and inclusion initiative that seeks to expand SGA's presence to minority groups, to marginalized students. The argument's often made that students are pretty much represented equally on this campus, and that is absolutely not the case. We need, if our SGA does not proportionally reflect the needs of our student body and the composition of our student body, that's a problem. My Campus 2 has been in existence for about 9 months now, and it's done some exceptional work. We have many different students who are part of marginalized groups running for Senate right now, something I'm extremely proud of. Hannah Nieper is the chair, and she's done an extremely great job. Another initiative that I'm really proud of is is environmental sustainability. Chelsea Fott is the committee chair, and she has done an excellent job working with Christian Ryan, who's the Office of Sustainability Coordinator, for Earth Day. Earth Day's coming up next week. It's going to be extremely great. You guys should go. There's going to be 30 vendors. They've been focusing on trying to get more environmentally sustainable materials on campus. It's going to be great. One thing that I really want to focus on next year, something that SGA does not do particularly well, is focus on suicide prevention. There's a grant called the Garrett Lee Smith Suicide Prevention Grant that gives up to $100,000 for universities that demonstrate commitment to wanting to prevent suicide at their universities. We absolutely need that to make sure that every single student in this room, every single student on this campus knows that suicide is never an option for them. That's only 3 initiatives out of many, but I only have time to explain 3.
Thank you. Braxton?
I'm actually going to let Zach take this one.
Yeah, reason I'm taking this one is because we've had a dialogue, and we know that once we're elected, if elected, that there's going to be a lot of responsibilities that both of us have ascertained, and one of them is Braxton's going to be very focused on the selection of our next president. So therefore, one of the initiatives I'm really going to take on is expanding My Campus 2. We do think that My Campus 2 has done a great job. We believe that there's a lot more to do that can be done. Hannah Nieper has done an exceptional job, and she deserves a round of applause for the work she's done. But there's more. I would say that there's a lot more that can be done, and I know that it was mentioned that student representation within SGA is just not really representing the students in a very diverse university like we have. What I would note that is under the president's power to appoint senators, and over 50% of our senators have been appointed this semester due to a lack of interest, I guess, and that's one of the reasons we're running. So if the diversity is an issue, that's something that I think could be fixed by the appointing power. Also, we know that there's an issue because there was a Council of International Student Organizations formed because they felt like SGA was not playing the role that needed to play in their lives. We really want to empower our international students as we go forward. We really do believe that they play a vital role in our campus, and that their voice is not being heard. Sexual assault is something that is prevalent on each campus. It doesn't matter what campus or how safe your campus is, it's prevalent. We believe that it is time to take a stronger stand on this issue, and we believe that men and women need to take a stand on this. I'm tired of seeing women only lead this one. I believe men and women together should lead it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I respond? Do we get 30 seconds rebuttal?
Yes.
So the comment was made that 50% of our senators have resigned or been removed. Absolutely untrue. That's completely misleading, you guys. So I did some research today because I figured this would be brought up. 2 have been removed by the Judicial Council. 3 would have been removed because they weren't fulfilling their obligations to actually show up to SGA. 4 studied abroad. 5 stepped down because they were overcommitted. Only 2 resigned without any given reason. Maybe because they disagreed with the direction I was taking SGA. But to say 50% of SGA has resigned is completely misleading. That's totally incorrect.
30 seconds. Is that allowed?
Yep.
Maybe I shouldn't say resign, but maybe 50% is a little much, but I think we did do some math, and at least 40% of the senators that were elected are no longer serving. That's an issue. And the point I was bringing out was not necessarily about the resigning point, or that however they stepped down or whatever happened there. But I was talking about the power to appoint if we're really working to increase diversity. And that's where I'm headed with this, is that there was a power to appoint to increase that diversity, and I'm not sure it occurred.
I suppose the next logical question for both campaigns is, on one hand, there may be a trend of senators stepping down because they're overcommitted, but for each campaign, Braxton, Zach, J. Todd, and Kate, how would you combat that? What's one of the things you would do to make sure that senators stay on, to make sure that they aren't too overcommitted to avoid something like that? And J. Todd, you all can start.
A minute 30.
Mm-hmm.
So, firstly, I will never take a role in micromanaging senators. I do not ever want to dictate someone's behavior in SGA. If they are overcommitted, if they feel as though they need to step down and focus on schoolwork, they need to do what's best for them. If they feel as though they can adequately represent their fellow students, those who elected them, they should absolutely 100% pursue that. One thing that I've been particularly focused on this year is to make sure individuals know who I am. But one thing that I truly want to change is to make sure senators understand their role as the representatives of many students on this campus. I would love to sit down with each senator before SGA begins that year, next year, and chart out a path to see if there's one issue they want to pursue, what are they interested in, actually have a conversation with senators to make sure that they understand the commitment, because when I lead an organization, I tend to be pretty active. That's just the nature of it. I don't want people to be overcommitted, and I don't want them to feel pressured as though they're going to disappoint anybody if they need to step down. So I would much rather have senators resign or be removed if they're not being active, and then appoint people who are very active with SGA.
I'm not going to micromanage either, just to throw that out there. I would really emphasize to the members of the Senate, or those who are serving or elected, that they're welcome to come to me, but I want to go to them. I don't want to say, if I'm elected, come to my office, come talk. I want to go to them. I want to go talk to them and say, what's going on? How can we help you? What's going on in your life? Do you have a lot of stuff going on? Would you like to talk about it? How can we make SGA better for you as an elected member? Because that role of a senator is very important, and it should be something taken seriously by every member who is elected. And so I also think it starts with the leadership of SGA, and good leadership promotes a good standing in any organization.
Okay, thank you. I believe Braxton and Zach did make a point about Senate appointments. However, 14 out of the current 35 senators in SGA this semester have been appointed by you, correct, J. Todd?
That believe so.
Yeah. Is that something that is common practice within SGA, and do you foresee that trend occurring? And more to the point, why these 14 people, I suppose?
Well, it's certainly been common since I've been in SGA, since I was a freshman. Absolutely, people step down, and then it's the president's responsibility to appoint. The Constitution only specifies that the president appoints. It doesn't say what method by which, and I've learned a lot in this position of how I would effectively appoint people next year. So yes, it is common practice for the most part. It's obviously something you don't want to happen. If people run for a position, you hope that they enjoy it enough to want to stay in. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But it requires having those conversations to make sure people are pursuing what they are actually interested in. And some people, when I was a senator, I didn't sponsor a whole lot of legislation because I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I was still looking at figuring out ways in order to find my role in SGA. That's why I ran for Speaker of the Senate. So sometimes the senator position is not ideal for somebody, and it requires having a conversation with the senators to see if there's a particular position in SGA they want. Having those conversations to make sure people are comfortable in SGA and they're working hard.
Okay, so kind of moving back towards some platform and campaign topics. Braxton, you mentioned in your open letter on your Facebook that you wanted to create a leadership program for incoming freshmen as an opportunity for members of SGA and new students to interact. Could you elaborate on this proposal for bridging the gap between SGA senators and students?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I talked to a lot of people I work with, and when I was mentioning to them that I thought about running for SGA, some of them had no clue what that was. And these are seniors and juniors who have gone through Western many semesters, and they never heard of SGA. And so I feel like one of the best ways to combat that is to start at the lower level of classes. Start with the freshmen, the incoming freshmen, who are coming into Western, and let's have a leadership program that involves not only SGA leaders, but it involves university leaders, Greek leaders, other student activity leaders, businessmen and women from the community, and it gets these incoming freshmen involved, and not only SGA, but everything that they want to be on campus, other organizations. And so I feel like that is a way to bridge the gap between those who have never heard about us, as you start at the young age, okay? And I just think it would be a great opportunity of letting incoming and new students on Western to know what we are, who we are, and what we bring to the table.
Do I get 30 seconds? Okay, just very quickly, I wanted to add that you learn a lot in this position, obviously. I would say more students know about SGA than they have in the past. Is it where I want it to be? Absolutely not. I'm going to give you all two concrete ways that I actually want to expand SGA's presence on campus. Something I'd like to call student stations. You know, if you ask anyone where the Herald is, they're in those black boxes. I mean, you get the newspaper from those black boxes. I'd love to have something similar for SGA that says we have free Blue Books and free Scantrons, scholarships, organizational aid, and something else. I'd love for the PR committee to actually set up for 2 hours a week at different locations on campus with a petition with our unfinished business where students could actually say if they yes, no, or I don't know, and vote on certain petitions.
Can I say something? To me, it doesn't matter how many things you have sitting around campus if no one knows what it is or what it's for. That's why when I talk about this leadership program, I want to start with students coming in with Western and starting that dialogue, getting the name out there, what it is, what it does, what we provide. If I don't know, say I'm a student, I don't know what SGA is, but I see a student station that I'm in class or going to class, I'm not going to take the time to read that. I'm just going to keep walking. And the thing about social media with the PR, which is great, and they've done an awesome job, but there are students who don't have social media, and there are students who don't follow SGA or on Facebook, Twitter, and so
I'm going to interrupt you and just open up this to a larger question for everyone, seeing as one of the themes that seems to have come up right now is sort of the, I suppose, awareness of SGA on campus and how to improve that. So I'll open this up to a question for everyone. Kate, we'll start with you. How would you, if elected, how would you make sure that more students, current, incoming, international, et cetera, know more about SGA and the services they offer?
Well, I agree with Braxton in the sense that we should let more people know about it as soon as we're making campus and increasing our presence at master plan and things like that. But one of the two ideas that Jay Todd and I have developed as a team is that he didn't quite get to fully talk about because of the 30-second limit a second ago was getting more students involved by having the PR committee go around for 2 hours a week and get more students involved by having our unfinished business, which is what we vote on every Tuesday during the Senate meetings, and just having a simple survey where it'll say the unfinished business is about so and so. Do you agree with this or do you not? So that when we go into our meetings on Tuesday, we can see what the students think. And it won't only be on social media to fix the problem if you don't have social media. We'll be in Centennial Mall, at the top of the hill, at the bottom of the hill, so that we can reach everyone. And that's one way, and I'll let Jay Todd discuss the other.
Sure, I will give you all sort of where we're at compared to other universities. At most universities, your SGA and campus activities board are the same. So the fun events that you have on campus are automatically a reflection of what SGA is doing. At other universities, like U of L, you have $1.2 million in your budget. We have $120,000 is our budget. Obviously, it takes a lot to try to increase the SGA budget, but you have limitations to what you can work with. So I talked about student stations, the petitions. I think those are great ideas. We already have something similar to a leadership program, but we need to do more on master plan. Right now, we table a master plan. We can do more on master plan. I'd love to see us do more. We can partner with the Alyse and actually engage senators, members of SGA directly with community service. They already do that work, and they do an incredible job. It just takes us having to have those conversations. And when you are the president and you have to oversee every bit of this, serve on the board of regents,
serve on the Presidential Search Committee, which I hope we get to talk about later. It's hard to implement every single idea you have, but it comes with conversations that you have with people that say, I want to learn more about SGA, and I hope you have a greater presence on campus, because right now we're only located on the second floor of the Downing Student Union, and I hope we can expand in the future.
Thank you. Braxton?
Can I get a raise of hands of how many of you all are in Potter College or Ogden College, or know what college you're in? How many of you know who your senator is? Okay, the ones that are involved in SGA, right. So that's one of the problems that I think we have is there's no direct form of representation. I mean, we have senator and then students, but, and I put this on the open letter, if you're a Potter College senator, I want to encourage that senator to go to Potter College, have meet and greets, try to learn names. I know you're not going to learn all of them. Try to learn faces. Listen to the students. Listen to the issues at hand that they have. And maybe we could even work towards getting a text list or an email list specifically for that senator and the people that they represent. Because I've heard from people who do know what SGA is, but they don't know what's going on because they don't have social media. And so that's where it would be ideal to have some kind of email or text list for these senators or a meet and greet to let them know what their constituents, let them talk to their constituents.
I would note the master plan definitely is a phenomenal opportunity to promote student government association. I've been involved with it ever since I came to this university. First as a participant, second as a crew member of the Western Leaders. If anybody remembers them, they had the colorful shirts on and they helped you find where you're supposed to go and jumped around and acted a little crazy. And then the next year as a captain for that. And so when it comes to master plan, that's something I'm all in with. And I believe that the Student Government Association presence there is something that certainly could increase. I've seen it from the inside. I've picked members to help out and volunteer for that organization. So when it comes to increasing Student Government Association awareness, involvement in that organization, I believe out of all the candidates here, I know that week best, and because I've done it, I've worked with it. When it comes to Big Red Blitz, that's an awesome opportunity once again to engage and to have an awareness with SGA. And I think that that volunteer along with the Live Center, I agree, those are things that we can do. As well as an executive vice president, we do have an issue with not having as much funding as some universities have. Louisville certainly does have about 10 times the amount of money that we have. But we can work with what we have. And also, I note that my sophomore year, that there was a private donation given to Student Government Association of, I believe, it's not an exact number, but I believe it was 15 grand. I can't remember for sure. And I believe that we could work with to build some alumni base that could give donations to increase our ability to have just fun events for students. I think a lot of times SGA gets so muddled down.
Thank you,
in
Zach.
politics.
Sorry, I have to cut you off.
So something that many of the candidates brought up, and that's kind of blowing up on Twitter right now, is the Presidential Search Committee. And we did want to point out that we do have specific questions about that, and we'll kind of get to those later. We have its own section for it. But something that we noticed when we were looking through things was that Zach, Kate, and Braxton are all running for Senate and executive positions. And we were just kind of wondering why that was, and if it stems from kind of a lack of confidence in which position you'll be elected to. And we can start with Kate and then work our way down.
It doesn't stand for a lack of confidence. I'm very hopeful that I will be elected and be able to represent you all as executive vice president. But if I'm not, I'm still young, and it's still an organization that I would like to be involved in. And I've really enjoyed my time as a senator this year and as an academic affairs committee chair. And so if I'm not elected, I would still love to serve the student body in any way that I can with another committee or just as senator and passing legislation.
And I'm going to echo that. It's not out of, I don't remember exactly what you said, but out of no confidence. But I still want to serve, regardless of whether I win presidency or not. I hope that I win, and I hope that Zach wins. But we're running for Senate because if we do lose, that's still the opportunity for us to serve students at Western. And I mean, really, I have to echo what Kate says.
Yeah, I would echo the same thing. It's certainly not a lack of confidence by any means. It's more of a desire to continue to serve. It's more of an approach of it's not really about me, it's about the students. And I know that over the last 2 years I've built experience and relationships with individuals that allow me to impact the student body. And so I think it would be a neglect on my part to not ensure that I'm still a part of this organization that is so valuable that could be so valuable to every student's life. So I believe it comes more from that. And there's still plenty of ideas. I think a lot of our ideas we would love to push even as a senator, if possible, if people would work with us.
Okay. Going off of that question a little bit, this is for Braxton and Kate as well. According to the SGA legislation archive, which is not the most up-to-date, it goes to about February of this year, neither of you have authored or co-authored a piece of legislation outside of committee legislation for SGA. Do you believe that this puts you at a disadvantage running for an executive position?
I don't think this puts me at a disadvantage running for an executive position, because while I might not have authored any legislation on my own, I've been extremely active in SGA over the past year. And it's not about how much you author, but your quality of activity. And with the Budget Council, which I have fought on to help protect the resources that are important to us as students, we meet every single week. So I'm obviously very active on that. As the Academic Affairs Committee Chair, I've awarded over thousands of dollars to students in study abroad scholarships and scholar development grants to help make their dreams and their educations possible. So I don't think it can be measured solely in the legislation that you author, but in the other activities that you pursue.
I may not be involved a lot in writing legislation or co-authoring, but I am involved in Campus Improvements Committee. And a lot of that work is behind the scenes work. And it opens up the dialogues of what's going on campus with our campus safety. For instance, right now we're working on, we have the campus safety walk coming up April 27th. But we were just the other day checking to see how the handicap buttons worked in every building. And so while I may not write legislation for every Senate meeting, I do vote, and I feel like I'm representing the students that I represent by voting. So.
And something that Kate mentioned was quantity, and as we were checking through the SGA legislation archive, we noticed that as of February, J. Todd, you authored or co-authored 6 pieces of legislation up to now, and we noticed that your predecessor only authored 5 in her entire time as president. And we want to know if there's a reason that you've authored so many, and it kind of speaks to the relationships that you have with your senators.
Yes. So I have tried to be as active as possible in writing legislation, primarily because I have a lot of information and knowledge that senators often want to ask for when they're writing legislation. And many times, if legislation does come through SGA, it has primarily been a recommendation from myself because I want senators to write as much legislation as possible. But I've tried my hardest in order to, in my personal view, to be the most effective student representative as possible. Some of that legislation is not necessarily authored, but I'm a contact listed. I want my name to be out there for you guys to understand that your student regent, the one student that serves on the board of regents, has a presence in wanting to author legislation. I don't want to take a laissez-faire role in saying you all do whatever you want to do. I want to play an active role. I want SGA to be guided in a certain direction, and sometimes that requires me giving my voice to certain pieces of legislation.
Thank you.
And so now we're kind of going to move into the Presidential Search Committee questions, and we did want to offer a clarification before we begin. We reached out to Barbara Birch, who's the faculty regent and faculty representative on the Presidential Search Committee, and she told us that whoever is elected SGA president is not necessarily guaranteed a seat on the committee, since J. Todd was already appointed to it, and it doesn't really make sense to kind of switch in the middle of a search. So going along with that in mind, for J. Todd and Braxton, what are the key characteristics that you think are most valuable in our next president?
We'll start with Braxton and then J. Todd.
You said 3 characteristics, or just characteristics in general?
Characteristics for the next president?
Well, I think they have to deeply care about Western and have Western's interest at heart. They need to care about diversity and inclusion of all students, because every student has a right and has a voice on campus. They have to care about our safety, and they have to care about our academics. And I mean, there's a whole list of things you can go through, but those are some of the main ones that I feel that are most important.
So as the current representative on the Presidential Search Committee, I approached the Senate and I wanted them to write for me an authoritative document that gives me something to go off of when I ask candidates questions about what are the characteristics desired that you all want in your next president. If you see this legislation, you can go find it. We're going to update it on the website soon. Resolution 2-16-S. It was authored by John Winstead, myself, Andy Dahmer, James Line, Rita Nandung, Kate McElroy, Brittany Broder, and Hannah Nieper. Those individuals that authored that believe that the next president should value shared governance. That if the student body says something, we don't want our next president to say, that's great, I'll take it as just a suggestion. And that's not an attack on President Ransdell, but that's typically the response I get when I approach him with something that the student body wants. I want a president, when I represent you guys, that cares about what you all have to say. Secondly, I want the next president to value higher education for the sake of what it can do for the common good of society. We have this perception that if you go to college, you'll make $1 million more in your lifetime. That's certainly true, but what about increasing civic participation, lowering mass incarceration rates? What about having healthier families? I want a president that understands the value, opposed to the governor, where higher education should only be funded if you're science, technology, engineering, and math. If you want to get an education, I want my next president, and I hope you all want your next president to believe that WKU is a university of opportunity. And lastly,
Sorry, J. Todd.
Okay,
we have no doubt that you had a little bit more to say, but our next question has to go back to the budget cuts that are currently facing the state of Kentucky. It's getting crazy out there, to be quite honest. Just recently, the Attorney General filed a lawsuit challenging Governor Matt Bevin's authorities to make cuts without legislative approval. So this question is for everyone, and we'll start with Zach and then go around. And that is, with the recently proposed budget cuts, WKU is, of course, facing the very real possibility of losing state funding in the coming years. So what ideas do you have to help supplement these potential losses and how to really take the brunt of these cuts that we'll be facing?
I want to make sure I heard your question right, so can you say it one more time?
Okay. It's just what ideas and what would you put forth to help sort of take the, sort of like cushion the cuts that we're going to be getting here at WKU within your role?
Wow, that's a big question right there.
Yep.
But I would note at the beginning of the dialogue, the question, it's getting a little crazy out here. We have Andy Beshear now filing a lawsuit against Matt Bevin, and we're seeing a little bit of a cat fight in Frankfurt. However, I would also add that this issue, I think, is an issue that's been going on for many years. We can't just, I'm not necessarily supporting the 9% budget cut, because I don't agree with that either. I believe that, higher education is really important. But it's easy to blame the guy that comes in and says, you know what, we can't spend what we don't have. This started in 2001 when our state legislators started taking money from people's retirement. So if your parents are working for the state, they were taking money from your retirement. So I would add that I would note that let's just stop only blaming Matt Bevin and let's start blaming a lot of different people. And it's easy. That's easy to do that. And I have really looked into specifically with Andy Beshear on that, so I don't really want to comment completely on that. But I would say this: it's going to be rough, but we can fight to preserve as many academic programs as possible. We can work together with the administration, with the faculty, with the staff, and as Braxton with the Board of Regents to ensure that WKU retains as many of their programs and that our students are served the best way possible.
Thank you. Braxton?
So, just to kind of get into a little bit of statistics from what I've read from the latest articles, and from talking to people, is that, of course, Matt Bevin has kind of signed this executive order saying he's going to take 4.5%, and Gary Ransdell is wanting to take that out of the reserve fund. which holds about 3 million or plus. And so if that were to be the case and the 4.5% stood as legal, we would have 3 million taken out, and it will leave us around 100,000 plus. And if it is not legal, the presidents have signed a letter. All the university presidents have signed a letter of compromise to go down from 4.5% to 2%, in which they would only take around $1 million out of the reserve fund. But what I'm saying here is there are going to be cuts made, and there's not really much that we can do about it. And it's the role, I think it's the role of the position that I'm working for, is to work with the board, work with the administration to lessen the impact that it would have on the students. We definitely don't want to see tuition go sky high, but when you got budget cuts like this, it may have to raise a little. But that's where it's our part to look into other ways that we can fix this problem and lessen the impact that the cuts have on the students and the faculty and staff.
Thank you.
So what we're specifically talking about is the potential for a 9% cut in the next biennium budget, which is from 2016 to 2018. I will take this time to say that I believe our university is in a very precarious budget situation. I think it's very dangerous, the emphasis that we put on aesthetics in terms of buildings and athletics. When last year we cut $5.5 million from academic affairs, but we raised a student fee in order to subsidize more of the athletics program. Don't get me wrong, I love to see new buildings and I love to see great athletics programs at WKU, but not at the expense of academic quality. My pledge to you guys and every student, I hope they watch this, my pledge to everyone is that I will fight as hard as I possibly can to make sure if it's a 1% cut in the next biennium or a 9% cut ranging from $1 million to $6.7 million, that you will not take 100% of that burden. I can't say it'll come from this particular area, we should take it from this particular area. I do not want to see certain programs get cut at this university, like the anthropology department. So one student brought that up to me. They're very concerned about having to transfer universities if we have to cut certain departments. I don't want to see our professors lose their jobs. It takes very serious, and when you are actually a leader and you are in this position, you have to make really difficult choices. I don't want you guys, because I think the cost of college is outrageous, especially in Kentucky. I want you guys to know that you have someone in there, if it's an open meeting or a closed meeting, that's fighting for you to make sure that, all right.
Well,
Okay.
I agree with Jay Todd. It'd be so easy to get up here and say, I don't support a tuition increase in any situation, but that's not realistic. With the budget cuts that we're facing, tuition will more than likely increase, but I don't believe that students should have to bear the 100% of that increase. We're probably going to have to bear some, but it shouldn't have to be all. But I think we should all bear it equally. I don't want to see Western have its academic programs cut or whole majors or whole departments cut. We need to bear this together as a student body as a whole and not compromise our academic quality by cutting all of our programs. And to go back to serving on the budget council, we've been going over this budget since August every single week, and it's a lot of numbers and it's really dense stuff, but it's my job as serving on that committee, which I hope to continue, that through these budget cuts, the resources that are important to us as students and things that we want to see in the future that are protected, and hopefully we can maybe even get more or switch. It's whatever is important to us as students.
Can I say something? The 9% cut for the next biennial budget that was referenced is kind of in the negotiations, which nothing is really certain right now. But that's a negotiation to being put down to 4.5%. So Western, whereas if it was a 9% cut, we would be losing around $6 million. 4.5 would be losing around $3 million. And so for that's where I say it's important to get students involved in local government and state government, because that's where we should lead the effort to go into Frankfurt in our state capital and saying, hey, let's push for more state appropriations. Because of
So we have about 15 minutes left, and we're going to kind of move into some of our social media questions. So this one is for J. Todd from Twitter, and they want to know, what is a topic you've succeeded in influencing WKU's administrators on as student regent?
When you enter the position of student regent and you have 10 other board members to try to convey what the student body believes and to convey it in a way that you ensure that they know this is actually what the student body supports and you are representing them through the student regent's voice, I think that's extremely important. The one thing I have been extremely consistent on, and I think it should be valued in the next president and all members of the board, is to ask tough questions. This is why I admire Dr. Birch, the faculty regent, so much, is that she has paperwork, and she asks tough questions, because if you're in the board meeting and you sit there, and I try my best to ask questions that represent the students when I can, if it's an open meeting or a closed meeting. I have asked questions that consistently try to demand a higher standard of transparency. I have tried to make everything as transparent as possible so you guys can look at the minutes, you guys can look at my social media posts, you guys can look at anything SGA related if you want to and see that the student regent is demanding that there's a greater sense of transparency in all board decisions and all actions taken by the president. So one specific issue, don't have time to explain that, but what I can say, the specific realm would be to demand a greater sense of transparency by asking tough questions.
While it is important to ask tough questions, I would also like to add that it's also important that we not alienate the members of the board or the administration, because they're working for us, and it's important that we build a coalition of the board members and to have an effective voice with the board, because not only does the board represent students, but we also represent faculty and staff, the community as a whole, and all of Western. So it's important that we have an effective voice on that as well.
Okay. We're going to pull from another question from our social media. Braxton, this one is for you. It is, what is your response to those who may say that you don't have as much executive experience as your opponent, J. Todd?
Well, you know, J. Todd was in this spot last year. I mean, he wasn't president last year, and he had to be elected president. So it's a learning curve for everyone that's running for this position, except J. Todd now, because he is president. But he was in the same spot I was, and I believe I'm capable enough to learn what needs to be learned. There's access that can be, there's information that can be accessed, and there's the right people to talk to. And I've been in many organizations. I've helped lead some. I've been the president of some. I've not been the president of some. But I believe I have some great qualities that would make me a great leader in this. And I think I'm ready to serve.
Thank you.
Another question that we got on Facebook will be for all of you, because it's something that you've all kind of touched on tonight. But you've all expressed that you'll be continuing the My Campus 2 initiative. In what specific ways will you expand the initiative, and how will you seek to include more Asian students in My Campus 2? And we can start with Kate and Dora.
Well, since we're a team and we've developed our vision together, I'll let J. Todd talk about this for the sake of time.
Sure, absolutely. A minute 30, right? Okay. So My Campus 2, as I said, it's been in existence for about 9 months. We've placed a very strong focus on nationally themed months, whether it's Black History Month, maybe not necessarily months, Hispanic Heritage Week, reaching out to different students if a month correlates with a particular group of students. Obviously you can't hit every single student group on campus, and I can't emphasize this enough to you guys. I'll get to the Chinese part. 1 second, sorry. I'll get to the Chinese part in a second. My Campus 2 includes marginalized groups, whether they're veterans on campus, students with disabilities, international students. One group we did not get to prioritize as much as I'd like are Chinese students. And that includes Chinese students, Taiwanese students, Asian students in general. I would love to have a part of My Campus 2 that is specifically designed to reach out to Asian students, to represent their needs. on campus. My Campus Too is all about one of the loudest voices on campus through SGA, reaching out to students that are trying to find their voice and to know that our organization cares about them. You can't reach out to every one of them in 1 year. I sure wish you could. We have to be realistic. So Chinese students, Asian students, absolutely 100% focused on that moving into next year.
You all can also answer this as one representative for your campaign as well.
Thank you. My Campus Too certainly it's vital to, it's become vital to what we're doing. And I would note, I had a conversation recently with a small group of international students, and they expressed to me their concern and none of these students were Chinese students, but they were reaching out to me saying, we do not have a connection with the Chinese students because there's a language barrier that's very strong when they come here. And so we sat and we talked about different ways we could dialogue and solve the solution. We became convinced that a very vital organization and part of this university that we could use to bridge this gap is the Confucius Institute, and bring in a translator so a couple of SGA members could come in and talk with Chinese students and see how we can empower them to feel comfortable being involved. And I would say also international students in general, empowering the Council of International Organizations to be more involved with what we're doing at SGA. Also, disability. The committee I'm a part of, that I'm a chairman of, Campus Improvements Committee, is currently under the process of locating every handicap button on campus and pushing it to see if it works. And we are actually really concerned about how many are not working and the accessibility issues that we're finding on this campus. So I'm running out of time. That's just a few things that I believe that we really can do to continue to improve My Campus Too.
Okay, thank you. This will be our last question from social media. This one will be for J. Todd and Braxton. It is WK Athletics bleeds money. Ransdell says academic programs will be cut for Bevan, not athletics. What are your stances on that? And we'll start with Braxton and then J. Todd.
I think that academics are very important to our university. I think that athletics are very important to our university. And I can't tell you, I'm just going to say, I think both of them should deserve to be funded. I'm not going to say which one I think should be cut. I think, my personal opinion is I think academics should be funded more than athletics. But some would disagree, and that's why it's important to have that dialogue with the administration and be a voice for the students on what they think.
J.
Would you
Todd?
mind ask the question again?
This one came to us from Twitter. WK Athletics bleeds money. Ransdell says academic programs will be cut for Bevan, not athletics. What's your stance?
I think it's fairly obvious. I mean, a university is designed for academics, academic quality. Athletics are a want, not a need. I believe strongly in athletics. I love to go to the football games. I love to go to the basketball games. And every other sport, those are not the only two sports. Often we don't consider athletics as a broad topic. One aspect of athletics we don't focus on that's emerging in the United States is esports. If anybody doesn't know what esports is, it's literally video gaming. A lot of students are getting into it, and universities are providing scholarship funding for students that want to play video games. I know it sounds odd to many of you all, but this is rising in the United States. And so athletics are not just defined as physical, but that's completely besides the point. I think it's fairly obvious that academics should be prioritized over athletics. And I've been extremely vocal about this. This is one area where President Ransdell often comes to the board and says athletics have a revenue generating capacity, and we never seem to get that revenue that we want in the end. That's something I have a great disagreement with him on. Doesn't mean I disagree with him on everything, but I don't believe it's in the best interest of the student body when you prioritize athletics over academics. And that's what we did last year with the $5.5 million cut to academic affairs and raise the student athletics fee at the same time.
Andrew, if I might add something on this, can I get in this conversation?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. There's certainly an institution such as WKU is an institution that is have academic quality. Should have academic quality. Academics should come first, but I think sometimes it's a little drastic how harsh we are on our athletes. I have 3 football players in my finance class, and they're hard workers. Athletes, when we were successful with our football team this year, it brings more people to our university. It brings more students. it increases and it brings more tuition. It brings revenue as well. And athletes have lives too. I went to most of the soccer games this last year because I have a friend on the team. They have lives, they're students, and they enjoy this university too. So I think that we need to keep in mind that also that our athletes are important and they're a part of our university.
Can I respond for 10 seconds? Obviously, I value athletes. I have plenty of athletic friends at WKU, but not at the expense of academic quality. They should be focused on coursework above athletics, in my personal opinion, and that's how our university should function moving forward.
Okay, we're going to move to closing remarks now. Monica?
Each of you will have 1 minute for a closing speech, and we will go in the same order that we started with. So Braxton, J. Todd, Kate, and then Zach. And also in regards to social media questions, we're going to be compiling a list of all the #Herald Town Hall questions that we got. We'll put them on the website, and candidates are free to respond to them if they so choose. So Braxton, if you're going to start off with closing.
First of all, I want to thank the Herald for this awesome debate, and I want to thank the crowd for coming. If some of y'all, if this was y'all's first debate, it was mine too. So it was a good learning experience for me. I think we had a great discussion tonight, and I want to see that discussion linger on, not only just tonight, but throughout the weeks, throughout the years, in SGA and other leadership positions. And I just want to refer back to the section in my open letter. I want to see SGA be a positive influence in the lives of everyday students. I want to see us represent not just a select few, but every student. Those who are involved in organizations, those who aren't, those who work 2, 3 jobs, those who don't, those who have everything paid for, and that's awesome. But let's represent everyone, and I'm looking towards a great year in SGA, regardless of whether I win or not. So.
Thank you, Braxton. J. Todd?
Thank you all so much for coming. I've been in SGA 3 years. I've never seen a debate turn out this great, probably attributable to the Herald. Thank you all so much for all the work you all do. 1 year ago, I went before the student body and asked for the opportunity to serve you. You took a chance on me, and I hope I haven't let you down. Being student body president has been the greatest honor of my life, and I'm incredibly proud of what we have accomplished together. Now it's time to finish what we've started. As we head into one of the most challenging years this university has ever faced, we need strong, tested leadership that has the experience, skill sets, and knowledge to get the job done. We need leadership with the most comprehensive vision for what SGA can be. And we need leadership with the mindset that everyone, no matter who they are, has a place in SGA. The other day I was contacted by a student named Eric. Eric is a non-traditional student and has a hearing disability. He thanked me for running again and said it means a lot to be valued as more than an 800 number. And that meant a lot to me. This job is never easy, but it's worth it when you know that you're making an impact in the lives of the people that you represent. That is why I'm running for re-election, and it's why I humbly ask for your vote on April 18th and 19th, next Monday and Tuesday on TopNet. Thank you all.
Well, I first wanted to say thank you for the Herald for hosting this great debate, and also thank you to everyone for coming. I think if you look around you and look at the turnout, you can see how SGA, with the help of the Herald, is already increasing their presence on campus, because we've never had a turnout this great for a debate before. And so I know a lot of information and ideas have been thrown out there tonight, but I think the most important thing to take away is what's going to be best for SGA and what's going to be best for the student body as a whole. And I feel that that's our team. Our team has a comprehensive plan to not only fight for students' rights in the face of upcoming budget cuts, but to also help improve mental health care on campus and expand diversity and inclusion, and also to help expand SGA's presence on campus. But more important than just having goals, we also have the track record and the skill set to prove to you all that we can make these goals a reality and not just something that we say. So I hope to have your all's support on Monday and Tuesday on TopNet so that we can make your all's college experience the best for you.
Andrew, when you sent us the email about how this debate would go, you said there would be a minute 30 at the end of talk, and so I wrote a little down of what I would say, but at this point, honestly, I just want to say this, that I thank you guys for putting together this debate, and they deserve a round of applause for that. It's hard work. As you all know, it's hard work as a student to be really involved on this campus, and as well as being a student, and I think that as your ticket for this election, that me and Braxton understand that, and we really want to empower you to succeed wherever you're wanting to head what direction you're headed in life. That's what we want to do, is empower you in that way. So whether it's diversity and inclusion that you care about on this campus, mental health, sexual assault, just knowing more about SGA, we believe that this ticket is a ticket that can really bring value to your experience on the Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh gosh. Oh, I sat there for a long time. Thank you all for coming out this evening. This was a first-time thing that the Herald has ever done. We're very happy that so many people came out. Thank you to all the candidates for coming out and being very conducive to our scheduling. It was a bit of a haphazard thing to throw together, but I appreciate them coming out, and I appreciate you all coming out as well. And we hope that you all also go out and exercise your right as students here to vote come next Monday. So thank you all and have a good evening.